Let's freaking go. His name is Andy. My name is Carter. We're going to talk anything and everything LSU. I say LSU. All football cards. I'm thinking LSU football cards because of the Bengals Saints over the past weekend. But our main topic that we want to start off with is how often do you frequent hobby shops? And before I let Andy answer, I want to tease something at the end of the episode. The benefit of PCing somebody that is not one of the big quarterbacks. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But Andy, how often do you go to card shops?
Oh man, not often enough. I need to get out there more. That's one of my initiatives, one of my goals for down the stretch this year. As I take some time off, and later this year in the holiday season, definitely hit up some hobby shops here in Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater. I know there's quite a few shops in this area. Definitely want to get out there, mingle, see what they've got in the cases, and see what kind of negotiations I can work up in person versus having to send these card shops an offer through their eBay store, because I know most of these hobby shops have an eBay store they run on the back end. Carter.
Yeah, so let us know in the comment section your experience with going to card shops. Do you go to your local card shop? Is there something that you would like to see more of at not only your local card shop, but just sports card shops that you go to in general? So these have been very, popular on our show, on our YouTube show. But if you're listening to this on a podcast platform, obviously give it a 5-star review, and you can hit up me or Andy on social media at Card of the Power and at FB Card Quest, and let us know what you think about this. And for me, Andy, I'm not able to go to card shops all that often, but I love it. I really, really do, because in-person dealing is so much better than selling online. And yes, when you go to these card shops, wax prices are going to be a little bit higher, and the price of the cards might be a little bit higher, but you can negotiate at those card shops. A lot of card shops will take cash payments all day over an online sale for just a little bit more. So for me, Andy, part of the in-person card shop experience is getting to actually see the card for yourself, look at the condition of the card, and that is just, for me, a major game changer.
Yeah, I mean, being able to properly grade a card in person is huge, because you just can't see the surface imperfections. Like, sure, you can tell if a card's got sharp corners, you can see the edges pretty good. Sometimes you can see some surface details, but a lot of times, man, there are so many little surface issues that I find on raw cards that I buy from eBay. I'm like, nope, not going to get this one graded because it's got a little dimple here or there that I couldn't see online. And sometimes, like, I'm actually targeting eBay listings that have bad photos because I know I can get those undervalued just because of the quality of the photograph. But, those surface imperfections, you can really see those in person. You can't see them online.
You just can't. Like, I remember, one of these Drew Brees cards back here, it was an encased card. I had a bunch of people look, and they took really good photos of the card. But until I actually got to see the card in person, I was able to really see, the corners, the smudges. There wasn't a smudge on this one, but, just cards I've dealt with in the past, it is a game changer. Now, I will say this after visiting Chicago over the past weekend. Card shops will speak for itself, right? Like, if you go out to LA, everybody knows to go to Burbank Card Shop, right? You see it on the vlogs, it's just an excellent shop. It's one of my bucket list things to get to go to that shop, because, they're buying, they're selling, they'll cash you out if you have, what they're looking for, and their inventory is amazing. So I went to Chicago, went to 2 different shops, didn't really do anything for me. There really wasn't any slabs or just anything really. And everybody was nice. I'm, not saying any bad things about it, but, most sports card shops, Andy, if you ask somebody, hey, what shop should I go to when I visit this place? People will let you know. And that's the thing. You can always call a card shop before you actually go to see what they have and see what they're looking for. May not be what you are looking for. I wish I would have done that before I actually went to these shops. But yeah, it's you can vet it. And I'll say this as well, Andy. Card shows will always be better than card shops, almost 99% of the time, because obviously card shows you have 100 different tables with a lot of different things, so you get more variety as well.
I can imagine, especially like card shows, the bigger ones, where maybe it's a local show and you can set up a table for 25 bucks. And now you can mingle and make some cash transactions, sell some of your cards, maybe bundle some cards together, sell them, maybe even make some trades and acquire some
Yeah.
nicer PC cards that you wanted for cards you have. And you get to avoid all those eBay fees. You paid one fee of setting up a table. You get all this human interaction. Also, make more transactions in a shorter amount of time. It's always been a very interesting concept to me.
And I also recommend, uh, you know, people do your research and think about what. Let's say you go to a card shop or you go to a like a card show. Think about what they would want, right? I know with my Tyrann Matthew collection, some of my higher Tyrann Matthews back here, not a lot of dealers are going to want that. It's just the truth. They're just not. So I know that going in. So I take obviously more liquid stuff. Obviously, some of the quarterbacks that I own, and it's a game changer. If you actually think of the dealer, if you make a deal, most smart people, especially if it's a card shop owner, they're going to want to make money off the card. And it may not be the price that goes on the eBay comps. It might not be what you think the card is worth, but always understand this. And this is one thing that I've learned, and it's very important. It is always harder to sell a card than buy a card. It always will be. So those things are very, very important, Andy, when it comes to going to card shops. But that's why we bring up this topic. We want everybody that goes to more shops than us. Let us know what your experiences are with that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so yeah, you were in Chicago over the weekend, and while how does it feel, man, to have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, come into New Orleans? Joe Burrow wearing the Jamar Chase jersey, putting a beat down on your Saints and the Honey Badger.
It sucked, seeing Jamar score the touchdown the way that he did, because Joe and Jamar are obviously two LSU legends. And obviously Jamar broke a tackle of Tyrann Mathieu to score. That was the biggest heart tug that I've ever experienced, because honestly, the Bengals are my second team because of not just Joe and Jamar, but because of my friend Jeremy Hill back here. The Bengals have kind of always just been my second team because that's where Jeremy Hill went. It was hard watching that game this weekend, Andy. It just was. I knew it was going to end with Joe and Jamar doing something and winning the game. And me being a Saints fan over Bengals fan, that obviously, increased the emotional value. But to turn this into a collectible thing, and this will be more in the outtakes than right now, more than likely, but we'll talk about it here briefly. What Joe Burrow wore into the stadium was even more impressive than anything that happened. He wore Jamar Chase's national championship uniform, right? Which has not been seen since the game. And Jamar Chase owned that piece of very priceless memorabilia. So, man, that was pretty freaking cool. And it is interesting, right, Andy? Do you own any jerseys or anything like that in general?
Yeah, I got my John Lynch jersey that is going back to like 1998, and then I've got a work done jersey actually that you gave me. So I've got those two jerseys. Those are my two jerseys I got, man.
Oh, wait, I wait, I did send you that. That's right. I did send you a work done jersey. I'm a big work fan, obviously, him being from Baton Rouge. But yeah, I find it interesting because, and we'll say this for another episode as we, get into more current stuff. I become a bigger game worn jersey guy, right? Obviously this changed everything for me, actually getting a game worn jersey from, given to me by an actual player. Uh, man, I want game worn uniform everything. I'm a game use patch guy, big time. And it's kind of become a big thing for me, right? So, game worn anything has just, you know, for me, anything that happened on the field was put to the side because me as a collector was like, I've always thought, where are those national championship jerseys that the LSU players wore versus Clemson? Where do those jerseys go? Um, it gets into players autographing their game worn jerseys and doing a jersey swap. That's become really big. So, like game worn memorabilia, especially something like that. I saw a comparison recently of a LeBron James logo man card compared to a LeBron James Eastern Conference Finals game worn uniform card. Or not the card, his actual full game worn uniform with an inscription and an autograph from LeBron on there. And the logo man sold for $50,000 more, the card, than the actual full game worn uniform. So I think sometimes, Andy, we get lost sometimes, but especially with some of these higher end cards, like how expensive these cards actually get compared to actually getting like a game worn uniform.
Yeah, no, it's very true, and I'll add to that that I see, for example, I was doing a study on big play Slay on the
Ooh,
Philadelphia Eagles. He hates the name Darius apparently, so
I
we're just
love
gonna
it.
call him Slay. And his game worn uniforms from the Eagles are selling for like $100 on eBay. I saw multiple transactions. If you go and look up his sold data. Whereas, his super rare cards, none of them have game worn jerseys. And even the autograph ones that are serial numbered, like out of 20, 25, are still in like a $20, $25 card. So it just goes to show you how much people value actual game worn, game used memorabilia. It attaches that memorabilia to a specific event, which drives a specific emotion and memory even more. It makes it that much more powerful. I think that Panini would be really smart to figure out a way to bring back some type of game used, game worn memorabilia in cards, and actually like document the event that was worn at.
What I would do, and I think this would behoove, the players as well, is and this is gonna sound ridiculous, and it's gonna sound greedy as well as a game worn guy, myself, but wear two different jerseys during the game. Wear one for the first half, then have a different jersey for the second half, and that second half jersey is the one that you could jersey swap, and just pay the players for wearing the first half jersey and giving the first half jersey to like an authorized rep. And I know I'm going to get flame in the comment sections for that. Well, that's never going to happen or whatever. If you pay them enough, a player will happily. Now, obviously, a basketball jersey is a lot easier than a football jersey. Have you ever seen, players trying to take their football jerseys off? Andy, have you ever actually watched
Oh
it?
yeah, they got
Yeah,
to take the pads off. They got to get a guy over there to help them, like tugging on it and stuff.
it's like a human version of a Chinese finger trap, right? You're just yanking the the pads and all of it off. Um, when I played, I liked having my stuff, tight as well. But it's it's one of those things where if you pay, Justin Herbert enough, hey, that's more money he could make, even if he's able to just keep it. Because game worn stuff just for me is a difference maker. And I turned down a really nice Peyton Manning one of one game worn autograph card to pay for some Harry Styles tickets. I won't get into that for this episode, but I wanted to make the fiance very, very, very happy. So there you go.
Yeah, you can imagine. I mean, we know that a set of national treasures, like a hobby box of 6 to 10 cards, for 10 grand. Like, Can you imagine? And none of those patches in those cards are game worn. Can you imagine if they released a set with the same quality, the autograph, serial numbers, but with game worn jerseys? How much that set would be? It would be worth more than a set of impeccable with the actual silver and gold and rubies and stuff in in the card. It would be extremely valuable. I think it's something really smart that I think a lot of collectors would enjoy. I think it's a great idea. Why not? It's the same jersey, just have two of them, but they just have to make sure they get the spelling right. I've seen a couple misspelled names on jerseys lately. David Montgomery's name was misspelled on the Bears,
Oh
but
yeah, I saw that. So here's something I would do. Okay, and I promise we'll get into play of the week and all that. I know we're rambling a little bit about game worn uniforms, but once again, comment down below anything from this episode that you want to, talk about. That's fine. I will say this, so like Michael Rubin obviously owns Fanatics, and he is very involved with the athletes. He has a connection with the athletes that most owners don't have. And obviously, you know, you think of him more as in the 76ers realm because of, who he is, the owner of the Philadelphia 76ers. But, I've listened to little excerpts of interviews he's done talking about redemptions and all of that. I would behoove Michael Rubin to look into the game worn jersey stuff, right? I think it would make a financial bit of sense for, there to be a jersey swap at halftime, change your uniform out, give it to a Panini rep or just whoever. I understand, we could get into the logistics of that. Doesn't sound like it'd be too much, right? If you were to pay a certain amount to those players, feel free. Like the famous philosopher Lemire said, "Be my guest, be my." Okay, that was stupid, but still, I would do it. I absolutely would do it. And here's something else that's funny, Andy, is that like you do see like some of these Patrick Mahomes cards with there was one that went viral on Twitter recently, and it was like the jersey number 8 was in the player worn patch thing, and that's because a lot of the patch or like the player worn jerseys have like 00 or 88 on there because you can get more chunk out of the actual patch. But tell anyone if someone's getting into the hobby, why the heck would I want a Mahomes card with the number 8 on it?
Yeah, you wouldn't, and that's the thing. I've seen it. Mark Ingram at a rookie premier event wearing Jeremy Shockey jerseys. I mean, just giving him any type of Saints old practice jersey that had Saints logo on it, so that they could say that he wore it. He literally had 30 jerseys stacked on him at one time. It was like, and just to say that they were player worn. That's what they do, and that's why you don't see any pictures from these events. They're very kind of hush hush, and I don't think they want a whole lot of press or media there. They don't want their process to really be out there, because then they would probably get a lot of pressure to change and actually make things a little bit more authentic.
And it's amazing, like there's a lot of players that just don't care about any of this. They just don't. Like you could there's photos obviously of like certain players signing their logo man and all that. They rarely look thrilled, right? Like they're signing a gazillion things at once. So yeah, I think if you, obviously pay the players a little bit more to, give their game worn uniforms to the company, I could be part of your, Panini license or whatever it may be. Um, that would obviously be very cool because there's just so much jersey swapping and keeping your own game worn jerseys. I highly recommend everyone go check out Arian Foster. There's a tweet that he had showing all the game worn uniforms he's had from other players during jersey swaps. So it is very, very interesting. Now, Andy, as far as the card market is concerned, after what was a fun weekend in the NFL, kind of boring, scoring is kind of down, throughout. You did have, the Bills Chiefs game and all of that. And of course, the Bengals Saints game was one of the best games of the weekend. As far as like the football card market, was there anything for you that really stood out?
Other than the fact, like the rookies are really making a big move right now in an upward trajectory in the football card market. So you've got Bailey Zappi leading the rookie quarterbacks now at this point. After starting 2-0 and now created a QB controversy, which I think has probably been kind of blown up, dramatized by the media, right? They need to get clicks. There's got to be a story there. So they're creating this QB controversy between Zappi and Mac Jones. But Zappi's played well in his first 2 NFL starts, and I've seen his score autograph cards get up to $500-$600. The base scorecards like $5-$10. The gold standard is still very liquid for rookies. So another guy, like another big storyline right now is the Jets. A lot of people are making bets on the Jets after just knocking off the Green Bay Packers. And the Jets are trending up. Brees Hall's card values have gone up over 100%. Like I just sold my silver XRC that I bought for 50, sold it for 125. Pen Pal's Purple Ink I bought for 35. This is back in September like 22nd, now selling that for $90 last night. Sold both of those last night. So still just an insane amount of auctions and deals going down on Monday night on eBay. There's still thousands of transactions. You are seeing like a slowdown during the week on players' base cards, like Jalen Hurts, right? His Prism PSA 10 is still going for around $130, $140. Tua's around $80. Joe Burrow's around $200. Justin Herbert's around $250 at $300. And during the week, you'll see these auctions that end in like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday go for lower than what they end on the weekend on Sunday night if that player is over exceeding expectations. So I'm still seeing that demand being driven and then during the week. So it's almost like it's being even more closely correlated with the actual game times and the performance, whether they're exceeding or under performing, and whether or not their team is winning or losing, and then their position. Like I even saw a gold XRC for Sauce Gardner sell for over $500. $550 is what it ended for an auction last night.
Interesting. Sauce Gardner. I think one thing, and I know I say this a lot, but this player is retired and he doesn't play anymore. It is amazing, like how cheap you can get Ed Reed stuff. It is amazing, and Ed Reed is the best defensive back of the modern era. You can argue a few other people, but still, it's amazing. Sauce Gardner. Hey, he's got the nickname. He's got the swag. He's got the draft capital. Jets, if there's anything they're known for, they've had good corners, right? That is very interesting, though. And I think, obviously, the name. Come on, his name's Sauce. Sauce. He's got a chain that just says Sauce, right? But, yeah, you make a good point about the rookies, playing well. Derek Stingley's playing well. Obviously, I think Garrett Wilson has gotten a few, like, hey, this guy kind of looks and plays like Justin Jefferson, which I don't think he's that good. I might be a little biased. Actually, I'm very biased. But I don't think he's that good, but he's shown flashes, right? Yeah. So this rookie class is very, very, very interesting. Also, I'm just going to share a deep cut here. There's still a piece of me that kind of sort of believes in Skylar Thompson, just a little bit. A small piece of my soul truly believes in this guy. But obviously, everything went rough versus Vikings last weekend for him. So we'll see what happens with this rookie class. Now, it is now time for Hobby Tip of the Week. Andy, you want me to go first? Because I kind of have a spicy one here.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
All right, so Hobby Tip of the Week is PCing a player that does not have very expensive cards. I think it's smart to do that. I just do. When I think PC, I don't care about how much the cards actually are worth in the long term, because it is my personal collection. That's what PC stands for, right? Like, yes, you can do both. Like, if you PC Hulk Hogan, or if you PC Tom Brady, or you PC like one of these, really, really, really GOAT players, yeah, those cards can go up long term, but I don't have the money, to do those things. IPC Tyrann Matthew, I switched from Joe Burrow when I started in 2020 because I started seeing that I wouldn't have enough money, and I knew Joe was going to be great. So I was like, okay, you can't do Joe, can't do Jamar, can't do Jets, right? Justin Jefferson. So focus on somebody else. So I focused on, Tyrann Matthew 2013. So he had Prism, Tops, loved those years designs and all that. And, obviously built the Tyrann Matthew Rainbow. And the good thing about that is you kind of get known as that guy, right? So I didn't tell you this before we started recording. Something really cool happened to me yesterday. Friend of the show, Mint Condition TC, saw a rare Tyrann Matthew being a part of a lot sale, and he racked it to me. He bought it, and I saw how much it was worth. It wasn't an insurmountable amount, but it was a chunk, right? It was a chunk of change, right? And he got it for me, and he was like, I know Carter's a Tyrann Matthew guy. I know some of his friends watch my LSU stuff, so that might be part of it as well. But man, that was really freaking cool. And I've gotten a lot of Jeremy Hill stuff from people, Kaladesi being one of those people, and no off-season cards. Paul, has sent me some Jeremy Hill stuff as well. So that's a good thing, right? It is rare if you're like a Justin Herbert collector that somebody's going to rack you like a very desirable, Justin Herbert card. So for me, if you're you could PC whoever you want. And if you want to PC, obviously a more expensive player, if you will, or Josh Allen, you do you. But understand that that's going to cost you a lot of money. A lot. If you want to build a PC that stands out, that puts you in, the top 1 or top 5% of collectors, it's really, really, really hard, Andy. And I know your PC is also somebody that is very good and doesn't have like this unbelievably huge following. Your PC is Mike Evans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, I love Mike Evans, and that is my PC. I'm continuously trying to build it. The one thing that I will say, and maybe this is my hobby tip because it's a really good one, is that be prepared for somebody to buy your card, even if you think, hey, everything's got its price. I want to list it on eBay. I'll just list it at a higher amount. Well, be prepared that somebody could buy that at that higher amount that you thought nobody would ever pay that much for the card. That happened to me with a really nice Mike Evans autograph PSA 10 that I had. And somebody bought it. And then I was like, oh no, man, I don't want to send this out, So it was very bittersweet. But at the same time, that afforded me the joy of finding something new to buy and invest in and collect in. And I love that. And I am really focused on raw cards. So my other hobby tip of the week, because I get this question a lot, is how do I know if I should get my card graded? And my answer to that, Carter, is that first and foremost, you want to make sure you get a 10. But I would say if it's a vintage card, like if you're going back to even the early 90s, pre-90s, 80s, and before, then I would say get it graded, even if it's not going to get a 10, because it's more important at that point to have it authenticated in a slab and protected. And there's so many reprints of the 86 Jerry Rice, for example, or the 89 Barry Sanders. Like there's so many reprints and stuff of those cards that it is important to just have those authenticated, have them in a slab. A PSA 7, 8 is a normal thing for a card that old, so it's not as big of a deal to get a 10. Whereas on modern, ultra modern cards, yeah, it's a big deal to get a 10. So if it's not going to get a 10, then don't submit it for grading, just because anything lower than that is going to be worth about the same as a raw. And you're just going to end up, between the time that it takes to get the card back from grading and the money that you spend to get it graded, getting the 9 back is just not worth it on an ultra modern card, unless maybe you get a BGS 9 with the subgrades that show, hey, there's a couple things about this card that are 9.5, which means it could possibly get a PSA 10, because we know some stuff slips through the cracks a little bit more often with PSA than it does with a BGS or even an SGC.
I love this stuff so much. I just wanted to. While you were saying that, I was like, man, you know what? I've never actually sent a card in to get graded, right? I do think that's a good piece of advice, right? Especially, like you said, for older cards and reprints. And it is interesting, like how much more important that authentication process is for these older cards, right? And I know we don't talk a lot of vintage football on here, but that is important, right? It's just amazing, like how much that grade matters for the Johnny Unitas collectors out there, because there's just not many Johnny U cards out there to collect. So that grade next to what that card actually gets is so very important. That's part of the reason why I do mostly stick with modern cards, because honestly, Andy, like I'm not a big fan of grading in general. I'm just not. I understand the authentication of it, and I do feel more comfortable when I buy a card that's already slabbed. There's a lot, and we could do a whole episode about what we like and dislike about grading. It could just be my laziness, honestly. It's probably a lot to do with it. I just don't like waiting. But but yeah, I do agree with that. Now it's now time for hobby play of the week, football card play of the week. And Andy, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, man. Well, so we're talking about the rookies, and that is the easiest path to make the quickest and the largest amount of profit right now in the market. And so, one rookie I want to talk about, this is regardless of the team that they play for. So, I want to talk about Sam Howell on the Washington Commanders because Carson Wentz fractured his ring finger this past week, and he's looking at a recovery timeline of 4 to 6 weeks per NFL Network. And so, right, Taylor Heineke on paper right now is going to be the backup, but he was absolutely terrible last year, really struggled to help them win games. And Sam Howell looked very good in the preseason. In fact, Sam Howell looked so good in the preseason that the Commanders were on the verge of actually releasing Heineke and cutting some cap space. So, but then Howell got injured at the end of the preseason, and so they kept Heineke on. So I think that they're definitely setting up to give Howell some playing time to see what they have in this rookie. The guy threw for 547 yards, 182 yards per game with 3 touchdowns at 63% completion percentage, and also showed impressive rushing upside. Like he was rushing like 7-8 yards per carry with some explosiveness and burst. And yeah, looked very good in preseason. Of course, backup defenders and whatnot, but that is the precursor to looking flashy in a regular NFL season game. Being a rookie, I'm seeing gold standard cards. I watched a couple last night that were numbered out of 49, ending for like $15-20. Gold standard, great color match to the Commanders. Also very liquid right now for 2022 rookies. I think he's a great play to potentially make a nice profit here in the coming weeks.
Sam Howell, a slightly more athletic Baker Mayfield, right? I like Sam. I really, really do. I didn't think you'd go Sam Howell. This is the beauty of this show right here. You hear things like that. Now, my play of the week is something that isn't necessarily a specific player, but an idea, right? And it kind of goes along with the grading process. I do think, for me, there's so many PSA or bust, kinds of people out there. And every time people, buy like an SGC slab, some people just automatically crack it and send a PSA. For me, I actually do believe in some of these other grading companies. It just makes too much sense for me to think that the only thing that's going to matter in the long term is just cards and PSA slabs. It just doesn't, and I like PSA a lot. Most of my slabs are PSA, full disclosure. But it's I would be very weary of just writing off like SGC and CSG and a few of these other companies. And I do think as we move forward, uh there could be money made on people that buy cards for a little bit less, even though they're in a different type of slab. So what I would say is don't just become beholden to cards that are in PSA slabs. And I feel like that's, very, very, very important because I was like that when I started. Um, because my dad, when he collected, he was very involved. He was a PSA guy before PSA was a big thing, over the past like 5 years or so. And he just liked it. He knew a lot of the people, there. He liked the grading process and all of that. So it was different then than it is now. And once again, I prefer cards to be in PSA slabs, but if I get in the occasional, SGC slab, it's not the end of the world for me. It's not a make or break thing like it is for some people. So, you know, I don't like it when the biggest aspect of the card is the slab that it's in and the grade that it's given. I like a card to be able to stand on its own. So that's, you know, wishful thinking on my end, but that would be my play of the week is look into different things that aren't just in PSA slabs.
SGC slabs are here to stay, Carter. I've been looking at a lot of, graded Josh Allen cards because Josh Allen is now subject to reprints. There was a little reprint circle
Ooh.
going around. I haven't seen them as much. It looks like eBay put a stop to that, thankfully, because people were falling for that. And but look at SGC 9 based on Josh Allen closing yesterday in auction for 120, PSA 9 for 160, BGS 9 for 130. Great example right here of a guy
Right.
that is arguably he's number one on my hype index for quarterbacks next to Jalen Hurts. No surprise, and it's just wonderful to see that this used to be a bigger difference, and I've even seen some a little bit closer for the SGC 9 compared to the PSA 9. So SGC has definitely closed the gap between PSA and BGS. I like that. I think that what they're doing, they're here to stay. They've lowered their price rates to match that of PSA, but still offering the SGC turnaround time of like 3 business weeks or less at an $18 per card. Plus, they don't have the declared value limits that PSA has. So if you're doing the $18 submission to PSA, their bulk submission, you have to stay underneath that $199 declared value. And then you also are subject to PSA saying, no, I think this card's actually worth $250. We're going to bump you up to the $30 per card price tier, and so forth and so on. Whereas SGCs, it's like $18 per card, bulk submission, no annual membership fee either. Plus, you get the fast turnaround time. Plus, their declared value is like $1,500 or less. So it's much larger on that bulk submission fee. So I think they're here to stay, and there's more and more hobbyists, collectors, and investors that are respecting the SGC value.
Yeah, and look, I'll be the first to tell you that most collectors want things in PSA slabs. I'm not just like forcing people into liking something. I have no affiliation with SGC. Now, we are open to conversating with whoever, right? That's not what I'm saying at all. But the truth is, I don't like monopolies. I just don't, just in general. And if most people want their cards in a PSA slab, you know, once again, be my guest, do what you want to do. But, I just don't think that that's good. And, if there's other companies out there that's willing to put in the work, like, SGC is, I know SGC's gotten bigger in the vintage market, obviously, with the mantle sale a few months ago. I kind of like that. I think that's really freaking good for the hobby. So, for me, while it isn't like a specific player, I do think that is something very important. But, I always mention this and I'm going to mention it again. Lamar Jackson, I just think he's going to be very special for a long period of time. And yeah, I know I bring Lamar up all the time. At some point, he is going to go to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. And when that Lamar Jackson Super Bowl hype window happens, if you watch auctions really closely, especially in the off season, if you would have bought some Lamars and just sat on them, you're making some money in the long term because he is truly, he's just proving it. He's week in, week out. He's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in this league. So, you know, I always find it interesting that Josh Allen stuff on average still goes for, the gap over Lamar. Obviously, that gap is closed some, but it is very, very interesting. So I'm always eyeing Lamar auctions. I've never bought a big Lamar myself, so I don't want people to think I'm being hypocritical here, but part of that is because my funds are lower than what I'd like it to be. But man, I'm such a big Lamar fan. He's exciting, big personality, Ravens, all those different things. I freaking love this man.
Well, I hope that you're right because I have been bought some Lamar a couple weeks ago after that close loss to Buffalo, and then they went on to beat Cincinnati in a close game. But he made some pretty critical mistakes yesterday against the Giants, and
Ooh.
with what we're seeing in the market, like it's fluctuating so much on a weekly
Right.
basis, even for these more elite guys. Like you have the ability to buy in to some pretty decent Lamar cards if they're ending in auction this week, right? Because the buy it nows are still going to be listed at market value or above, most in 99% of cases. But if there's an auction ending today, tomorrow, Thursday for Lamar, they could be going undervalued based on how he just lost to the Giants and based on the mistakes that he made that were on mainstream TV. So that's my observation. So like this is now time to buy a dip. So you had a chance to buy a dip on Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow before they went into New Orleans and just totally spanked him. And now that door is slammed shut and they're going to be kind of going up and up. Like I even saw Jamar Chase orange cracked ice, non-serial number, but it's that orange cracked ice card from the Fanatics blaster box that sold for $100. Like those prices were just immediately jumped up for Jamar Chase all of a sudden. So just another example of how things are fluctuating on the weekend. Like that's when we're definitely seeing the highest price spikes. And then during the week, you can still find some of these guys that are elite that just had a bad week and kind of get into them a much lower than what the current like market value is.
Let's freaking go. So excited about football cards and the future of this hobby. We appreciate you guys listening in to another episode. Once again, 5-star reviews. It goes a long way. Subscribe if you are watching this on YouTube. And don't forget our major question of the week. Hobby shops. Do you frequent them? Are you near one? What are you looking for? What do you like? What do you dislike? Let us know in the comment section below. And until next week,
Peace.
what up?
What's up, man? Fresh off his Chicago trip. Hope you're feeling all right.
Dude, I feel like trash.
Uh-oh.
Absolute trash. I don't know if it's what. Could be. When you travel and you go to concerts and shows and
Mm.
all of that. But it could just be seasonal. Let me turn this on. Make sure this thing's on. There we go.
There
Uh,
you go.
but yeah, it was well worth it. It was a great trip. But I decided, and whenever I go out of town, I like to uh spend a day doing like hobby stuff, right? So I post something in a big Facebook group, big sports card Facebook group. Uh, it has about, I don't know, I think like maybe, I don't know, like 70,000, 80,000 people in this card group. And I was like, hey, are there any good sports card shops in Chicago? And everything that gets approved in this group gets like 1,000 different comments, right? And I posted it, and there wasn't a lot of comments. And so I went to one of the few that actually said, "Hey," and I was like, "Okay, Chicago, big sports card city. The National was there. There's going to be some great hobby shops. There was a big sports card show, but it was like 2 hours away in like a Chicago suburb, and." I went to 2 different shops, Andy, and they both weren't good. There was not a single slab in any of the showcases
What?
at either shop. Not one. one of the shops was busy, which is obviously really, really good. It was a better of the two shops, and they had a bunch of people doing like the Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic the Gathering. They had these tables, and both the shop owners were nice, but there wasn't a single slab. And I brought cards. I brought some of my Jordan inserts that I have, not like PMGs or anything like that, uh, but both shops didn't really have anything. And I wasted half a day going to those shops instead of doing something else that I could have been doing in a city like that. It's rare I get to go to Chicago, whatever. So it's like one of those things where if there is really a good sports card store, if you're like visiting a city, people will let you know. It will be very easy to know. Like if you go to LA, I've never been to the store, but you know what store I'm talking about, right, Andy?
Burbank.
Burbank. It doesn't take much. Everybody knows Burbank. Sports card hobby will always, always, always consensusly let you know where the hot spots are, right? Dallas Card Show doesn't have to promote. It doesn't have to promote. It gets free promotion from everybody that goes to the shows. It's a great show. The Dallas Card Show is going to be great. It's a bunch of good sports card stores in Dallas. So the one thing I learned from that is people will let you know. They will let you know where the real deals are.
So you got to meet up with Brad Nolan.
That was a big thing, man. And that's the second thing.
Awesome.
About like you and I haven't met. We have not met each other, never. And being full time on YouTube, I want to meet as many subscribers as I possibly can. And obviously, the more active you are in like the group or whatever, the more I want to meet you, because you talk to them like every single day. And I talk to Brad Nolan a lot. And the funny thing is, we don't even collect the same thing, right? He's become one of these really big vintage soccer guys, but we're just friends. We made friends through you, and he's one of my best buddies. And we met up, and his wife was like super nice. She's the best. But he was just a great guy, and that's the main thing I learned. Is one of those sports card shops did have a lot of people in there, but they were just fellowshipping. They were doing like the community, the Magic the Gathering stuff. But yeah, I really do believe sports cards is as much about, I know a lot of people saying it's cheesy, but it's better with people, right? And it's better to meet those people. So I guess we for sure have got to go to the National now.
For sure, man. For sure.
I said no to a Peyton Manning card I really, really, really wanted, and it did get up there in an auction. You saw the card. And dude,
game worn patch,
sticker auto, but I don't care. And one of one, you put in a slab, they're going to put one of one on the slab, whatever. And I really wanted it. I really, 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 really wanted it. The Harry Styles, everything put together, doubled that. A Peyton Manning one of one game worn patch auto. And we didn't have the best seats. I mean, we had good seats, but man, it is ridiculous. Like, because I know we think of sports cards as an unbelievably expensive hobby, which it can be, especially who you decide to PC will definitely determine that outcome. But God, it's crazy how much this stuff costs. It's crazy. Before I get started talking about sports cards, I got to see my favorite piece of memorabilia that's out there. There's two pieces of memorabilia that are my dream pieces of memorabilia. Okay. It is the Joe Burrow National Championship jersey, right? I just want to touch it versus Clemson or see it. I don't know where Joe keeps it. I would guess it's, in his house somewhere or somewhere in a safe. It is interesting that Joe gave away his AFC Championship jersey to Kid Cudi. Okay, do you remember that from last year?
Well, no, but I did like a music video, and Kid Cudi's got like a Joe Burrow song and everything. That
Yeah.
was pretty cool.
So they're like best buds now, right?
That's
Which is
cool.
cool for Joe because he listened to his music growing up. But did you see this over the weekend? What Joe Burrow wore into the Saints game?
What do you wear?
Oh, dude,
I gotta
it's
look it
cold.
up now.
It's cold blooded.
Wow, they nuked the Saints, man. They Joe and Chase went off.
So look, I'm gonna let you be in shock what Joe Burrow wore
I'm looking
into
it up.
the stadium, and that is the second piece of memorabilia I would love to see in my lifetime. Um, I just can't believe that he did this because this is such a priceless, priceless piece of art. Now I'm sure, like, if for some reason Joe Burrow wanted to sell his national championship jersey versus Clemson, he would get $1 million for it, at least 500K for it. I would die if I was that rich. But if I had like Elon Musk money or Jeff Bezos money or whatever it may be, that would be my one splurge item is buy that jersey or any Joe Burrow jersey from the 2019 season. Um, but man, dude,
Oh,
you see
so
that?
he wore the Saints or not the Saints, the LSU #1 jersey.
That Jamar Chase wore in the national championship game.
He wore Jamar Chase's. I can't find the picture, but I'm finding a little news article about it.
Oh, well, I'll
I'm
send it
trying
to
to
you.
find the picture. I should have just Googled it, actually. I don't know why I went to Twitter. Should
So
just Googled it.
he wore the it is truly incredible what this guy wore. And the cool thing about this Jamar Chase jersey is look, I post the link in the private chat. Uh the cool thing about that jersey is it still has, because like when you play on turf, you don't get stains, you don't get like authentic grass stains. But I saw this on Austin Eckler's jersey. It does get these red marks on the front of it. It's like it's kind of faint, but you could still see it, and you can go look up, Jamar Chase from that game. You could see that you could see that this is the exact jersey he wore um, in that game. And they only wore that 2020 playoff patch in 2 games, one versus Oklahoma, and then obviously in the national championship game. That right there is just crazy. And that's just Tyrann Mathieu wearing a uh, normal Tyrann Mathieu gear. Oh man, the Badger.
Not a Tennessee jersey.
Not a oh man, I was cold blooded.
I saw that. He got
But
caught.
but the truth is that's just incredible that Jamar just has that. Joe called Jamar before the game and said, "Look, I want to wear one of your jerseys before the game, so just call me." And Jamar's like, "Oh, okay." And the one jersey Jamar has hanging up in his house is that one. Okay, that's crazy because Jamar in that game went for 9 catches, 221 yards, and 2 tutties.
Wow.
And he could have had more. He actually dropped a touchdown in the fourth. But that was one of the best games a college football wide receivers ever had in that moment, right? And that jersey is just so cool that Joe wore that jersey, in the return to New Orleans. But
I
but
played
man,
Jamar Chase everywhere in daily fantasy on Sunday, and I didn't even I should have like connected the dots in terms of the homecoming to New Orleans and everything, and knowing
crazy.
that he was going to go up. But I just did it based on the numbers. Like they have like Jamar Chase priced down to like 7,700, like in comparison to Cooper Cup at like 9,000 and
There you
Justin
go.
Jefferson at like 80. I was like, there's only so many games that Jamar Chase is going to have, like, that are sub, 15-point fantasy point games. Like, it's that buy window we were talking about for Jamar Chase closed.
I like this right here from Patrick McNutt. His PC is Carlos Boogie Basham. I love that. I love a deep cut. There's nothing more that gets me going than a deep cut PC.
Deep cut defensive player PC.
Nothing in this world. And the good thing about like the rainbow stuff, like I should have thought about this beforehand, but it's not just like rainbows. Like someone said, hey, I'm collecting all the Russell Wilson Prism cards, which is cool, right? 2012, 2013, 2014, that's cheaper too. Than doing like a rookie rainbow. And like I clearly stated my rainbow isn't like what Parker or Xavier McKinney collector is trying to do. What she's doing like an actual like card, not an insert. Panini certified football, Panini black football, select draft picks football.
What you looking at? New releases?
Yeah, nothing really good.
Yeah, we're kind of in between. We're score right now. They're kind of letting score percolate, and I think the only beef I have against score is that it's thin. It's not. It's basically used the same paper that they make a base Donruss, so it's just like a base paper card. Yeah. So you just the paper they use, like the base contenders, you're more susceptible to edge and corner damage. And so you get ding corners really easy. So I bought this, I think, what is it, number 10 out of... I got this Rashad White for almost $50. It's numbered out of 20. It's a red. It's 2 out of 20. Number 2 out of 20, sticker auto, Rashad White. I thought a really clean rookie card. Yeah, I love the red prism. But it's got a little corner ding on the top left, so it's like I'm not going to get it graded. But otherwise, I think it's the score design is really clean, and it's a pretty big checklist. So you've got quite a few of the rookies in there, and even like the Bailey Zappi base cards, like the base score Bailey Zappi cards, are selling for $5 right now. So. Right, when a few people were hitting me up last week, I'm going in big on Trevor Lawrence. He's about to break out. Well, and yeah, I have an interesting take about him in that game. I think he's kind of playing scared.
I know he is.
Yeah.
Playoff contenders 2000 rookie ticket. BGS 9 with 10 auto. You want to guess the price?
BGS 9 with 10 auto. Whew. Yeah, that card probably used to be like 6-figure card, but now I don't know. I'd say 25,000,
50K.
50K. So I was a little not quite as low as what, but I know that card has gone down quite a bit.
It has, man.
Well, yeah, a lot of reasons for that, but it's along those same lines of like we were talking about last week, where some of the content creators like to point to the Brady stock or the Michael Jordan rookie stock, and say, well, those have gone down so much, the hobby's crashing. But I just tripled my money on some Breece Hall cards that I bought a couple weeks ago. The hobby is very healthy. It depends on what you buy in at and what cards you buy. You gotta and a card that's already at thousands of dollars, we cannot expect it to go up to $100,000. I think those prices that I see where I'm like people paying $2 million for a card, I'm just like, that's insanity, man. Insanity to me. Insanity.
Yeah, it's more to buy followers, Joe. right? Like if you buy that card, you're known, right? Like
Yeah,
it's as much
the
advertising as
flex.
any. Yeah, that's what it's all about there. Um, and obviously, it's a gamble. You don't know what the card market's really going to do with those big cards. That's a 0.00000000000001%, group of people that are actually in sports cards that are in the market for
For
that
something
card.
that crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, expecting them to pay six figures for this card is just it's crazy to me because there's so much downside there. And I mean, yeah, buying that expecting the next person to expect to pay more is mind blowing. But I get it. It's a flex. Like it's the same thing with these guys that are ripping national treasures and impeccable and stuff like that. And I know some of these guys are breaking it, but some of these guys are just buying it to rip on their channel, and the very popular channel. Who doesn't want to watch and see what comes out of a national treasures box that someone just spent 10, 15 grand on, you know?
I'm looking at this card right here. Look, I'll send it to you really quickly. This Josh Allen, what 4-color patch, on card auto, immaculate rookie, player worn, obviously not game worn. Nothing's game worn now, but to get this for 2K is kind of a steal here. Whoever got this, I mean, they'll get it.
Yeah, I think so.
That's one of the few cards that I feel like with Josh Allen, this kind of went under. I thought this would go for.
Very, very fair deal here. But look at the seller. That's why. Big C Collectibles, zero feedback,
Ooh,
brand new seller. So, I mean, I would be super sketched. It does say authenticity guarantee. So, at the very least, you're getting your money back. But, like, who just starts up a store and this is the very first card that they list and they put it in an auction to end on a Monday night at 7:21 p.m. when I've noted that there's literally tens of thousands of football card auctions ending Monday night for whatever reason.
that is
You
kind of
know,
sketchy. But why would you start a new one and this only go? See, sometimes I think people do that so they can lower the comps and buy up Josh. I don't know. That's a galaxy brain thing, but
well, let's check out the bidder. So let's check out the bidder, the C star 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 S, who's got a ton of feedback. So I
yeah,
think this is actually a person that actually went for it unless it was the guy's friend or something like. Yeah, unless you're targeting this card or a card very similar to this at a show, you got one. So you start up a store or a new account, have your friend bid on it. They don't actually buy it, but it shows that the auction ended. And in the meantime, you can then take that to the show or the card shop and say, hey, look, here's a recent comp for this card. I'd like, I'm offering you 1800 for yours, whatever it is, similar scarcity Josh Allen type thing.
yeah. But anyway, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready whenever you are. Obviously that's a good like general topic. How often do you go to hobby shops? And I feel like the hobby is completely different if you do a lot of in-person thing than if you don't, like us. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
it, it makes me want
And
it makes me want to move to Dallas. It really does.
really, because they have a lot of good card shops and shows.
That's it. That's the main reason I want. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I talked to the two hobby shops in Chicago, and obviously, the Bears aren't that great. That might play a role in this, but that is still very much a baseball and basketball city, right? Um, you know, in Dallas, it is a huge football card city, huge. And obviously that's what I do. I'm starting to dabble in some basketball, but I'm a football man. So yeah, man. But yeah, I'm ready whenever you are.
All right.
Let's freaking go.